What's going on, y'all? This is Damien with the DevSec Blueprint, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys or showing you guys how to shift left using AI. And that AI tool that we're going to be working with is called AWS CodeWhisperer. And we're going to be integrating that by installing an extension into VS Code. Before we get into anything, please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the channel. I'm definitely trying to increase my views. I'm also attempting to create more technical content so that you guys can consume and share it with your friends. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. First things first, let's cover concepts and theories before we get into the practice and start actually coding and scanning things. So the first thing that I want to talk about is really what exactly does the shifting left concept mean, right? So when we talk about shifting left or shift left, it's basically a practice that ensures that any security considerations and best practices are included early in the development lifecycle or the software development lifecycle, the SDLC for short. The key thing about this is that, historically, security has always been thought of after the application is made into production or when a major breach happens. So shifting left is basically a way to protect the developers and ensure that they're capturing any kind of vulnerabilities early on in the development lifecycle, remediating them, reducing the overhead that we come across, and also really ensuring that their application, their platform, their pipeline is exceptionally secure before it makes it to production. The beautiful thing about shifting left or this concept is that it comes with three key benefits that I really want to point out. The first key benefit that we get is that we're able to detect any vulnerabilities that we have within our environment early in the SDLC or the software development lifecycle. This allows us to be able to mitigate any kind of vulnerabilities before we get to the point where we're promoting our applications and whatnot up into production. The second benefit that this concept gives us is that it gives us a continuous feedback, right? Because we're constantly testing our code, we're also able to test our code by scanning it early on in the life cycle to detect any type of vulnerabilities that we may have within our code. Having that feedback loop early on allows us to be able to mitigate any type of security vulnerabilities that may arise, and we can just thwart those and then, secure our application. And the last thing is that the shifting left concept aligns with the DevSecOps methodology. The whole point of DevSecOps is to integrate security into every step within the software development lifecycle and also operations. All right, so now that you guys got a fundamental understanding of what shifting left is and its benefits, now we'll move on into explaining what AWS CodeWhisperer is. Before we do that though, we need to ensure that we have the following things installed on our computers. Number one, we need to have VS Code installed. This is going to help us install our extension for AWS CodeWhisperer so that we can run those security scans. The second thing that I'm going to need you guys to have installed is Git. We're going to need that because I'm going to have you guys clone a repository that already contains the vulnerable CloudFormation templates that we want to scan with AWS CodeWhisperer. And the link to how to install VS Code and how to clone my repository that I've already created for you guys will be in the description. All right, let's go ahead and let's get right into it. All right. So for the fun times, man, for the fun times. So we're going to start developing, we're going to start coding, we're going to understand what CodeWhisperer is. I'm really excited to start talking about this. So let me stop rambling and let me give you a general overview of what CodeWhisperer is based on what AWS has written in their documentation. So what is CodeWhisperer? So it says that CodeWhisperer is a general purpose machine learning powered code generator that provides you with code recommendations in real time. As you write code, CodeWhisperer automatically generates suggestions based on existing code and comments. So it basically writes code for you in a sense, in certain scenarios, of course. It says that your personalized recommendations can vary in size and scope, ranging from a single line comment to fully formed functions. So it's actually really interesting. And if you see in this image that we have here, you can see that it's basically creating a function, in Python, and then it is returning the addition of two parameters, which is actually pretty neat. So it learns the way you code, it learns your style of coding, and then it prints or returns what it thinks that you're trying to write, which is pretty awesome. But that is not why we're here, of course. This is a nice feature. And of course, if you want to use CodeWhisperer for this particular reason, you can. But if we really want to sit down and really look at what it is that we're here for as DevSecOps professionals and engineers, we're looking for something that performs security scans for us using an AI, right? So if you look at this page that I'm on right here, that says features, it says when you use CodeWhisperer with VSCode or JetBrains, which are basically IDEs, integrates with Amazon Code Guru to perform security scans on both your active file and its dependents, highlighting any issues in it. Interesting, right? So let's look at those security scans and let's see exactly what this means. So we come here, it says you can use CodeWhisperer to detect those security policy violations and vulnerabilities in your code with static application security testing, SAST, secrets detection, and infrastructure as code scanning, which is actually something that we really want in our IDEs. We want to have something to be able to detect these vulnerabilities before we even start to push this code upstream. So Run Security Scan performs a security scan on the currently active file in the IDE editor and its dependent files from the project, which means that it doesn't necessarily have to be open, but if it is a part of the repository that we're scanning or we opened in the past, most likely it will detect those things. CodeWhisperer's security scan is powered by detectors from the Amazon Code Guru detector library, which is something that we're actually going to see when we start to scan the CloudFormation templates that's checked into GitHub. Code Guru security does multiple layers of filtering before scanning the code to ensure that you can focus on the most critical issues, which is ideal. So it says that languages that security scans work with. So this is great because it gives us an idea of what the support is for running those security scans. So you can see that CodeWhisperer security scan supports the following language versions. So we got Java, JavaScript, Python, C#, TypeScript, Ruby, Go, and then of course the infrastructure as code languages. So what we're trying to do really is we're going to be scanning our infrastructure as code language at this point in time, but I'm pretty sure if we wanted to scan, for example, for SQL injection with Python, I'm pretty sure this will pick it up. And it says CodeWhisperer will only provide code remediation suggestions for code written in Java, Python, or JavaScript. So anybody who's writing in TypeScript, Ruby, Go, and C#, sorry for you. Definitely think you should just come on over to the Python, Java, or JavaScript train. So this is where we're really going to get into it because this is where this is going to have the instructions that we need to install the plugin for our IDE, which is VS Code. So these are the instructions that we're going to follow. So it says to begin a security scan in VS Code, use the following procedure. In VS Code, choose the AWS logo on the left side. Oh, okay. So it's not going to actually tell us exactly how we're going to be able to, or how we need to install it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to come here and I'm actually going to show you guys how to do it in VS Code. So I'm going to open up a new window. This is a basic window and I'm going to come here and the extension that you're going to want to search for is AWS. Okay. And we're going to click on that and you can see that this AWS toolkit, and we'll make this bigger. It comes with Amazon Q, CodeWhisperer, and more. So what we want to do is we want to actually install this. So we're going to install it. And it's going to install for us. And then we're going to basically come here and we're going to click on AWS, which is going to be on the left side. And then what you're going to have to do is if you haven't already signed in, there's going to be some instructions for you to be able to sign into this so that you can map it to your AWS account. And that link is going to be in the description on those instructions. Okay. But because I've already done this in the past, it has automatically pre-populated everything for me here. And it's already connected to, my AWS account. So I'm going to close this out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this little project here, which is the actual project that I've written for you guys to display the power of CodeWhisperer's infrastructure as code scanning. So in this particular document, I've created this README that basically states what it is that you need to have installed on your device or whatever laptop, desktop you're programming off of, or you're trying to perform these scans off of. So getting started prereqs. So the first two things that you guys need to make sure you have installed is NPM and Node.js. And you can click here and download the packages that you need, as well as Python. So I've included those links into this README file. Once you finish that, then you want to go ahead and you want to create your virtual environment in Python. And I've included the commands for that, as well as sourcing that virtual environment to activate it and then installing the requirements.txt. So the thing about it is that this is written in CDK, which is AWS Cloud Development Kit. But the thing is, I am synthesizing the stacks and dumping them into a CloudFormation.yaml file or a YAML file so that we can accurately see what the security issues are in CloudFormation. And I've written this using Invoke, so we can automatically synthesize our stacks and then dump them into this file or folder here. So you don't necessarily have to run the npm CDK commands unless you absolutely want to, because I've already have this inside of this task.py file. And you can see I've had it here, right? So before we get into synthesizing the stacks, let me show you exactly what it is that I have here. So I'm going to click on bad resources, and this is the Python code for the bad resources. So if you look here, we can see that we've created an API gateway that's set to auto deploy, stage name. We've also created an S3 bucket that doesn't necessarily have any kind of security configurations associated with it, such as, enabling versioning or just minor things like that. There's also creating an IAM role. And then we also have the most notorious thing, which is basically allowing all inbound access for an EC2 instance. This is the bad resources stack. These are all the bad resources that we want to see CodeWhisperer will be able to detect for us, as well as, attaching that to the EC2 instance and so on and so forth. And as far as this one goes, this is the secure resources stack. So this is where we're going to have our secure S3 buckets. We're going to have the IAM roles, et cetera, et cetera. The key thing is that you can see the difference between this stack and the bad resources stack is that the S3 bucket here has versioning and enforces SSL, and the S3 bucket here does not. So the key thing that we want to get out of this is that we want to see if CodeWhisperer will be able to identify whether or not this S3 bucket is vulnerable and give us some reasoning on how we should prevent it or mitigate this vulnerability within our code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the CLI real quick, and I'm just going to go to invoke synth. And what it's going to do is synthesize our stack. So you should see a little bit of command in the text here. And if you see this message, you can safely ignore this message while it's running. And if it really is bothering you, you can definitely turn this off by setting it to true by exporting it bash. But if you take a look here, you can see that this file is modified. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this file, at least one of them, and I'm going to open it. And you can see that now we have all of we basically have our CloudFormation templates created, or a YAML file created. And now what we want to do is we actually want to scan it to see if CodeWhisperer comes back with something, right? So let's go ahead and let's do that. So what we'll do is we'll come over here to AWS. We will run the security scan and just click this for CodeWhisperer. And what it's doing is basically going to scan all active files and its dependencies. So we just need to hurry up and wait for it to report back. Ooh, so you can see it basically gave us a list of things or issues, but not just for the markdown file that we have, but also for the bad resources stack and secure resources. So even my secure resources stack doesn't have secure resources. Interesting. So take a look at this bad resources stack. You can see that we have a CWE here. that's noted. So if I come here and what I see, I want to be able to view the details of it. And what's going to do is going to have, and it's going to say a CodeWhisperer security issue. So you can see CWE 284, right? Which is a common weakness enumeration, which is popular, but it's high, which means that it's high risk. So the key thing is that it says, ensure the S3 bucket has versioning enabled. By enabling versioning for your S3 bucket, you ensure that multiple versions of an object are stored in the bucket. This allows you to preserve, retrieve, and restore every version of an object, providing protection against accidental, deletions, overwrites, and other data loss scenarios. With versioning enabled, you can easily track changes, roll back to previous versions, and maintain complete history of your objects in the bucket. Interesting. So if we go and we want to open this up in web, you can see that, CWE is managed by, and this is basically said improper access control, which is a weakness, right? And it gives you a description from a baseline security perspective of what this means in regards to access control. You can see it aligns with authentication, authorization, accountability, CIA, all that good stuff. So you don't necessarily need to dive deep into it, but if you want to understand what that tag means, you can come here. And the beautiful thing is CodeWhisperer has all these links there in the IDE for us. And then we have the detector library, which is the code detector library. So you can see, we come up in here, we navigate here, you can see the list of supported different confirmation detectors that they have. And then they give you examples of non-compliant and compliant resources, which is super awesome. So not only does it detect it for you, but it also gives you information on how you could secure or fix your vulnerabilities within your code, whether it be infrastructure related or just basic Python. So in a sense, that's really all that I wanted to show you. I really think this is super duper awesome capability for us as security practitioners and professionals, because again, we're shifting left and we are enforcing security during the development process. So we can always run a security scan before we even commit our code into our respective repositories. And that's it. That is the last thing that I wanted to show you guys for this video. I hope that you were able to learn a little bit about AWS CodeWhisperer and how to shift left with AI, learn a little bit about what shifting left is, and also how you could potentially apply this at the organization that you're working for, or if you're trying to segue into DevSecOps or break into the DevSecOps space, equipping yourself with the knowledge and skills to be able to convey how shifting left really aids DevSecOps processes and also security environments. So please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what worked for you. Let me know if you wanted to see something different. I'm always open to interacting with you guys in the comments section. Thank you again so much for your support and continued support. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.